Shadow of the Erdtree is a DLC that's perfectly pitched to challenge Elden Ring veterans. Eurogamer's Emma Kent got hands-on with the DLC, and I, Zoe Delahunty-Light, am here to tell you what she told me. You can read her full preview on Eurogamer.net. There's a definite sense that even normal enemies in the Land of Shadow hit harder, and are simply more aggressive than those in the base game. With danger around every corner, you're kept constantly on your toes, rekindling that same mixture of fear and excitement you likely felt when taking your first steps through the lands between. But more than that, Shadow of the Erdtree feels like a FromSoftware greatest hits album. It takes all the things that made Elden Ring extraordinary, its grandiose atmosphere, memorable boss fights, and darkly humorous level design, refines these elements and turns it up to 10. Better still, it gives you an even wider range of weapons and tools with which to explore these features. And honestly, what else could you want from an Elden Ring DLC than just more of the good stuff? One thing that does feel different, however, is that the Lands of Shadow has a rather more ominous atmosphere than the other regions in the Lands Between. After defeating Radahn and Mog, you can hold Miquella's withered hand to be transported to this new area. Here, blackened veils drape across the sky, buildings are swathed in heavy cloth, and ghostly tombstones loom from the ground in a golden valley called Gravesite Plain. One of the key themes in this realm is death, or at least the many different death rites and rituals that have been forbidden by the Golden Order. As Elden Ring lore whores will know, like myself, Marika sealed away the Rune of Death to achieve immortality for herself and her offspring, making all other death rituals taboo in the process. In the early stages of Emma's journey through the Land of Shadow, she came across a tower called the Pillar of Suppression, at the top of which read, "The very centre of the Lands Between. All manners of death wash up here, only to be suppressed." It seems this place has been deliberately hidden from view by the Golden Order, to conceal anything that might trouble the prevailing belief system. Walking through the starting area also reveals the lingering after effects of the tyranny of Messmer's flame, with plenty of burned out villages and ghostly figures lamenting that they were killed despite living innocent lives. One of the very first creatures you see is a burning wicker man from Messmer's army, a terrifying presence that either tries to squish you or add you to its flaming corpse collection. From the gameplay trailer, we know that Messmer is likely another of Marika's children, and he seems to harbour a distaste for Tarnished. This was confirmed when Emma encountered one of his Fire Knights, who declared death upon those stripped of the grace of gold before lobbing a tracking fireball towards her that took off most of her health bar. In true FromSoft fashion, however, the early stages of Shadow of the Erdtree raise more questions than answers. Messmer's intentions remain something of a mystery, and the question of what Miquella is doing here is something you must actively investigate. Followers of Miquella can be found throughout the region, with many of these NPCs seemingly having converted to Miquella from other gods, citing Miquella's remarkable kindness. There are glowing markers throughout the world described as Miquella's footprints or gravestones, showing places where he abandoned a part of the flesh of his body. It sounds a little similar, perhaps, to the way Rani abandoned her own physical body in order to escape the influence of the Golden Order. You're asked to search for these markers to help track down Miquella through the Land of Shadow and discover what he intends to do here. One of the most enticing places in the opening area is Belorat Tower Settlement, a fortress that's both mysterious and enormous in scale. Belorat is something of a classic FromSoft castle, with tight corridors, horrible creatures, and a ton of jump scares. Thinking of peeking behind a waterfall? Prepare for a sword to the face. Exploring the downstairs basement? Enjoy a sewer full of insect people. Despite being located in the early stages of the DLC, the enemies here are tough, and half of the battle is figuring out a route to the top of the tower. Once you've successfully navigated the perilous ascent over the rooftops, your reward is a particularly grueling boss battle. As seen in the gameplay trailer, Divine Beast Dancing Lion is a three-bodied creature that spins around while spewing frost and throwing lightning bolts. When it's swiveling around above you, it can be particularly tricky to anticipate its next attack. Challenges like these, of course, prompt you to experiment with your loadout and tools, but if you get really stuck in this DLC, FromSoftware has introduced a new way to augment your combat power. Erdtree blessings and revered spirit ash blessings are items found throughout the Land of Shadow, with the first bolstering your character's ability to deal and negate damage, and the second improving the power of your summoned spirits and spiritual steed. I'm guessing the Erdtree is the name of the big tree at the centre of the Land of Shadow, FYI. Much like the Sacred Tier, these blessings can be activated at sites of grace, but they only apply to your character when you're in the Land of Shadow. It seems like a neat way to ensure that high-level players are given a challenge through the innate difficulty of the DLC, while lower-level players have the option to boost their power if they wish. Emma activated some of these blessings during her preview, but she didn't detect much of a change in her attacking power, so you may need to stack several blessings to make a noticeable difference. For Emma, the key to defeating troublesome enemies was by experimenting with new weapons, and Shadow of the Erdtree brings some exciting additions to that department. There were 3 builds made available as part of the preview session: Warrior, Knight, and Sorcerer, and Emma chose to try the Sorcerer's new martial arts fighting style. Known as Dry Leaf Arts, this item allows you to fight with kicks and punches, in a way somewhat reminiscent of Sekiro's Senpou monks. She had a phenomenal time using this on regular enemies, where it felt very easy to chain attacks and essentially stun lock opponents. I mean, there's just something very cathartic about giving Elden Ring's enemies a good punch to the face. Yet, the Dryleaf Arts didn't give enough attacking power when it came to boss fights, and so it was time to search for alternative options. Surprisingly, the new infinite throwing knife, the Smith's Script Dagger, is a useful mid-range weapon that helped to take down the big, annoying lion. The dagger allows you to keep your distance from the beast, while also doing a lot more damage than any magic could. Importantly, it means you could quickly dodge attacks without having to commit yourself to the slower wind-up of spells. In short, it's great news for those who enjoy a rogue playstyle who don't want to spend all day crafting darts. What's remarkable is that, even after 3 hours playing the DLC, Emma says it felt as though she had barely scratched the surface of the starting region. There were locked doors in Belarut that remained sealed, and another large fortress called Castle Ensis. From the southern border of the preview area, you could spot a reddish, swampy region that led all the way towards a colossal mountain, while there were vertical cliffs above the plains that offered a glimpse of lush, tree-filled areas. The sense of discovery that feels so intrinsic to Elden Ring, the promise of dozens of secrets, tools, and locations to uncover, is absolutely present in Shadow of the Erdtree, and then some. It's hard to guess the exact size of the DLC area, large swaths of it were blocked out on the preview map, but Hidetaka Miyazaki's description of it being larger than Limgrave might be a little on the humble side. That also doesn't take into account how dense some of these locations are. You could spend hours just exploring the heights and depths of Belarut. One thing that's certain, however, is Shadow of the Erdtree already has the look and feel of an absolute epic. With its somber atmosphere, intricate world building, and cheeky level design, it has all the ingredients required for another additional chapter of Elden Ring's sprawling narrative. There are few games that can conjure up a feeling of such vast mystery and potential. When the DLC releases in just a few weeks, I dare say myself, Emma Kent, and all of you will be looking forward to re-experiencing the trepidation of setting forth into these tantalizing unknown lands. And, of course, being stomped on once again. You've got to be realistic about these things. If you enjoyed the video, please do let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you're on YouTube, and just generally keep an eye out for video content on the website. And I and Emma Kent will see you in the lands between in just a few weeks.